Candace Owens went up to the Breakfast Club and absolutely popped off. Guys, I want you to take a look at something real quick because what's happening on the Breakfast Club YouTube page, I didn't think was ever possible. All right. So title of the Breakfast Club video, Candace Owens on Black America, Congressional Puppets, Donald Trump, Kanye, T.I. plus more. At the time that I'm recording this video, it's over 1 million views with 31,000 comments. Now, if you look at some of the top comments, you understand what I'm saying. As a black father, I can only say that Candace is a fantastic role model for my daughter. No vulgarity, no twerking, swearing, showing off her body, and so on. Just an intelligent, well-spoken woman. Quote, the government does not make money. We make money. The government can only take money. A quote by Candace Owens. I'm surprised by this comment section. It's so positive for Candace. Historically, a liberal radio show, Candace is touching on something that everybody is feeling. Blue or red, donkey or elephant. If you continue to go down into the comment section, you will see this positive support for Candace Owens, who is known for being a conservative political pundit, as well as someone who has offered criticism to black culture. But finally, on one of the largest radio shows and the largest radio show that is specifically for a black audience, are you having this overwhelming love for Candace Owens? So listen, I listened to the hour-long podcast and I wanted to bring up to you guys the most salient points that I found interesting so we can have a discussion about it. And truth be told, at this point, I super agree with all of her gender points and positions, but now she's talking political, and I cannot help but agree to the majority of things that she's saying. Now, due to copyright, I can't play the visual, but I can play the audio, so treat this like a podcast. MT Army, let's get active. Without further ado.
A lot of black Americans, I should say, are still living under this deception that Lyndon Baines Johnson was a good president, even though he was an avowed racist. I mean, he hated black people. I mean, one of the... so many times, I mean, hard R referring to us as the N-word. I'll have those N-words voting Democrat for the next 200 years. And this man is being hailed as a hero because he had to sign the Civil Rights Act, essentially with a figurative gun to his head because the country was on fire. You know, JFK had just died and there were riots in the streets protesting because of racism. And he did not want to sign it, but he did. And with the other hand, he signed the Great Society Act and incentivized welfareism and, you know, programs to incentivize not marrying black men. You know, to think that we had government agents knocking on the door, going into the homes of black women and being like, there better not be a man that lives here. We're just here to check to make sure. If you want this check, dad can't be home. Every other ill that black America is facing today is because we've removed fathers from the home. So I am like a big, you know, I use my platform to talk about men a lot and the need for male leadership, everything that is so harmful, this, you know, Me Too, false feminism, all of this crap. It's anti-man, and it's anti-man for a reason, because a society cannot survive without strong men. A household cannot survive without strong men. We need strong men to lead homes. And so the fracturing of the black family, I think, was the test. Like, you know, like we were the mice in the experiment. Like, let's see how that goes. And now they're kind of doing that writ large. And I hate feminism so much. I can't even tell you, because what it's about is it's just an attack on men. Despite the fact that there's been trillions of dollars since the establishment of welfare, black Americans are poorer today than we were before it. People don't know this, but during the time of Jim Crow, before welfare was established in the 1950s, black Americans were actually outpacing white Americans in this country in terms of economic growth.
We also had the highest marriage rate at a rate of about 80%.
And the reason for that was because our families were together. We had good values. The government only wants to give you the bare minimum. But where's the rest of the money? Where is it going? They sign these bills making you think that this money is going to you. It's not. They are stealing from the American people. If you listen to what I'm actually saying, I'm sitting here providing a blueprint for black Americans to get ahead, because it's time, okay? It's time. We've been doing this for a very long time in this country. Black America, wake up, okay? They don't like you. They don't like us, okay? There's not America has government. America. Yeah, like.
Let me just pause the track real quick. It's amazing that the Breakfast Club, who probably is feeling the sting of their previous support of Joe Biden, is allowing Candace Owens to just speak so freely. But this is what I've been maintaining on the channel. There have been things put in place to assist in the removal of the man out of the household, whether that be through the government being your new baby daddy through the form of monetary assistance, whether that be things things such as this 3-strike rule that was disproportionately landing black men in jail at a higher rate than their white counterparts. The man in the household is the linchpin in order to deliver structure to that family, consistency within that family, as well as block out debauchery within that family. Removing that man, dissembling this family structure, which is proven to drive relationships, community, as well as generational growth and prosperity, which are some of the key factors in culture development, will weaken the family. The man has effectively become the enemy of the family so that the government can control you. I remember as a child growing up in the 90s and thinking to myself, every black person must be Democrat. If you're not, then there's something clearly wrong with you. You must be a black racist if you're anything but a Democrat. But that was based off of the information that I had at the time. And it's crazy to see the history behind it and how the government put things in place to increase the chances of family destruction so that it would be easier to control you, thereby making it easier to get your vote. Pay attention.
The government, the American government, why would you think the American government wants to help you? Well, at what point in history has that proven to be right? And I'll challenge that and I'll make it wider to all Americans. When has it ever been the circumstance that you felt that the government really just was out for your own best interests? Think of them as a corporation. They want to grow themselves. They want new departments, bigger departments, larger
control.
Budgets like any other corporation would want. And they never want to leave D.C.
I want to go back to something you said earlier, because I know a lot of people will hear you say, well, Candace, you're speaking a lot about, the black family, but then you married a white man.
Yeah.
Dr. Umar would have a huge problem with that.
Yeah.
Are you familiar with Dr. Umar?
I have heard of him. I have not listened to him, I'll be honest. What is his argument, actually, if you could just repurpose his argument
He
for me?
feels
everything black.
No.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Every damn thing.
He feels black men should be with black women because when you're talking about it from an economic standpoint, you want to grow the wealth as a black family.
But that doesn't...
And if you marry somebody from another race, then, your wealth will be with that person, and he doesn't like that.
I never liked this argument from Dr. Umar because someone who chooses to date interracially does not disqualify you having an opinion regarding the race that you were naturally born into. But let's hear what Candace says.
Okay, I would love to talk to him more about that because
that'd be a dope combo.
It's always very interesting to me to hear this paradox of black people who will make an argument that, the system is racist and then also make an argument like this, which is essentially making an argument for the Supreme Court to revisit Virginia versus Love and basically say that black Americans and white Americans shouldn't be marrying. I think the greatest thing ever is when people come together on the basis of who they love and get married. For me personally, I never thought of my husband as a race. It's very interesting to me that see people go, she's married to a white man. When I look at my kids, I'm not like, oh, my kids are mixed. I married the person that it made the most sense for me to marry. I have a mind that is just, if you even knew half the things that I'm thinking about, the stuff that I'm reading, just go all the time. It's difficult for me to find. It was difficult for me to find a partner that was a challenge to me. The challenge that I needed, whether you want to say like an academic challenge, whatever it is, with my same interests. It just was. What you will know, a lot of times people think that when people come together, it's because of how they look. Actually read this in a Thomas Sowell book, or maybe it was a Shelby Steele book. People tend to marry their IQ, which is interesting. You think like if you see two black people together, it's because they are two black people, but actually they are probably better matched based on their IQ. I fell in love with my husband just because I think he is one of the most brilliant people ever. I love him very much. The stuff that we talk about, I'm like, there is no other person that I could have married. We have 3 beautiful children who are growing up in an environment that I am just so happy that I was able to, what every parent wants, to give your children better than you had, and that's all I can say. I'm just the luckiest person in the entire world.
How was he going to feel about you not finding him attractive and just liking him for his mind?
Oh my God.
He got the smear already ready for the journalists that are listening. Candace says her husband is not.
Good answer, Candace.
It was a bonus that I also think that he's beautiful and gorgeous and handsome, but it really was about his mind.
Candace is a sapiosexual.
Dive into any subject and comprehend it, just any subject. I mean, whether you're talking about mathematics, economics, politics, he could read a book on chemistry, read a book on building houses, and he just comprehends the concept very quickly. So I know I married the right person, and I want every person to never allow race to be a barrier to you finding love. That is so foolish. That will stop you. And by the way, there has been so much toxicity and particularly in Black relationships, because of the media portraying Black men as this or Black women as this. And we just have to stop doing that, you know?
Yeah.
I loved her answer right there. Because essentially what she's saying is that she respected her husband for his mind. First and foremost, that's what she prioritized. And that's her God-given right to be able to do that. Umar prioritizes race before anything else. But just because their priorities are different shouldn't disallow Candace from being able to speak on these very issues. I also want to quickly comment on this for those that are not just listening and looking at the images on the screen, but I love, and this is no disrespect to Candace Owens' husband or to Candace Owens, I love that I've never seen Candace Owens' cleavage. Right? And I never want to see Candace Owens' cleavage. I love that she covers herself up and dresses so modestly whenever she makes these public appearances. Why is it that I say that? Well, if I have a daughter one day, I would want my daughter to dress modestly. I would never want her to give into the worldly normalcy of attention seeking through her body. But I will say though, although I love her image choices, this shirt is goddamn horrible. They couldn't even like fix her collars and push them collars down before she went live on the radio. Let go.
Have you ever dated Black men before?
Yeah. I dated Black men, which is another thing that I always find really funny because the media tries to portray me as someone who only liked white guys. Actually, if you want to be honest, I started off on a really strong Asian kick in my life.
Oh my gosh.
I thought I was going to marry an Asian man.
What's fine?
I did. My first boyfriend was Japanese. My second boyfriend was Korean. I just really loved Asian men. It was weird.
That's right.
Yeah. What do you mean, what's up? You guys have definitely covered it, right?
Absolutely.
It's crazy.
Absolutely.
You know, it suggests that he was the Jeffrey Epstein of Hollywood.
Talking about
that
Diddy.
there's a blackmail ring, that people are being given drugs. They're doing things while they're drugged, and then those people are controlled, right? Because if you're a rapper and your brand is hardcore and I have a video of you kissing a guy and I'm like, I'll release it unless you say or do or take this position, that's a blackmail ring, right? So
T.I. wasn't in there though.
No, he wasn't. I'm just
okay.
saying that the Diddy lawsuit kind of led me to ask some larger questions about, okay, because I have been feeling like in my heart that something weird's going on with Black media. You know, I'm like, what is this trash that we're trying to sell as good music? This isn't Black culture. I hate that Black people even call it Black culture, because that's like, no, vultures came in and took Black culture, turned it into something else. Like I said, I've said it many times, I grew up listening to Lauryn Hill. Stop trying to tell me this is Black culture. Like, I grew up in my grandfather's house listening to The Temptations. Stop trying to tell me if this is Black culture. It's not. This is rotten.
Black people aren't monolithic. I mean, you're like, even you're an example of that.
No, I'm not saying we're a monolith. I'm just saying that Black people create magic when they want to, okay? There's no singer that is better than a Black singer. If you want to go tit for tat, give me the best, white singer versus the best Black singer. Like, we have unbelievable talent, right? So if you're going to tell me that what we are now making mainstream is the filth that I hear today, I'm going to start asking questions about who's condoning this, who's signing these people.
But music is an algorithm, right?
Shut up, DJ Envy. This is essentially Candace Owens going into the belly of the beast and telling the beast to stop playing bullshit for the people that you represent. You are the outlets that do it, DJ Envy, as well as Charlemagne the God. Again, this is an argument of the chicken or the egg. Is this just an algorithm within Black culture who are selecting into a sexy red, my pee is pink, my booty hole is brown? Or is it the powers that be that have a stranglehold on your paychecks to continue to play the malarkey, the degeneracy?
What they really do is they see what music is being hit on Shazam or what people are quote unquote liking, and that's what they play more.
It's getting artificial.
That's
it's starting
what
to
they,
get
quote,
artificial.
unquote, say.
No, and I think that's why, I do love Kanye, because I think he was pointing to this stuff really early. Like when he jumped on stage and grabbed a trophy from Taylor Swift, people were mad. I was mad. I remember being like, what on earth is he doing? But what was he actually telling you? That all of this it's a performance, right? Like this is not based on merit anymore. And by the way, he was factually right. The Taylor Swift video was like a girl dancing in a mirror, and Beyonce put out Single Ladies, one of the greatest music videos of all time, and they gave it to Taylor Swift. There's a narrative, there's a person that they're trying to make big whenever they make these decisions, also clarified by the Diddy lawsuit, because the person alleges, I'll say allegedly, that Diddy told him if he did this or that he would get producer of the year. Well, how could Diddy make that decision? How could Diddy offer that to somebody, full stop? This means that there's a different reason that people are getting awarded and are being platformed. And I have seen people that I just do not believe were made hot by Black people that were suddenly being thrown in our face and being invited everywhere on red carpets, and suddenly they're next Taylor Swift. It all just feels so artificial.
Who
it doesn't
Candace?
feel
Who
well.
Candace?
I'm giving an example. You guys talked on stage about Ice Spice. I mean, on the show about Ice Spice, you guys played my clip where I was talking about it. I don't have anything against Ice Spice. I'm sure she's a very nice girl. I really am sure. She's young. That's not a justification. What is she, 20? How old is she? 20?
I don't even know.
I think she's like 24, 25.
It's actually, she's not that young, right? You know, like Lauryn Hill she was like 18 when she was on Sister Act. But, you know, the point is I don't fault her for making that music, but I am seeing this artificial promotion of Ice Spice. Like all of a sudden, of all the people, that's who Taylor Swift decided to put on her on the stage and take to, you know, the Super Bowl. I have questions, you know, I just have questions. And I do think that Kanye was trying to say something, you know, in that moment when he took the trophy from her.
But you know, when you listen to Lauryn Hill, you know, there were other music there that wasn't like Lauryn Hill music.
There was Little Kim.
It was the minority.
There was
Trina.
There was
I think
Trina.
Lauren's a little before the Trina. But what I will say, it was a minority of the music, and now it's the majority. And I would be okay with music like that if the majority of Black music was based on what we can actually create in our talent. Because like I said, we have a ton of talent. I tend to think that when we get involved in certain things, we just do it better. I think creatively, Black people are very gifted. And where somebody is making our gift a curse, right? It's encouraging, it's music that's encouraging Black men to commit crimes. It's like a hip hop to prison pipeline.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, I really question it.
How do you feel when Meek Mill says he listens to you all the time? Because I've just thought about that when you was talking about the music that they make. He actually listens to you all the time. Did you see that tweet?
I did see that, and I reached out to him, and we had a private discussion very quickly, but it was so interesting because just based on that tweet, how quickly they tried to make sure that me and Meek Mill wouldn't talk. Right? Media instantly. This is what Candace has said in the past about, you know, Meek Mill being arrested. Just, again, constantly trying to fracture Black relationships. And that has always been the name of the game, from politics to the media. They are interested in the business of fracturing Black relationships if it's a relationship that I think they believe could advance Black America. So I'm just like, when is there going to be that moment that Black America is really just going to fully awaken, you know? And I cannot stand, nothing makes me angrier than seeing the intentional feminization of Black men.
The more that I hear Candace speak, the more Kevin Samuel vibes that I get. A component of her goal is similar to Kevin. Kevin wanted to bring families together. Although Candace's prescription for being able to do that is actually more similar to the way that I talk about things, which is to challenge the cultural narrative. Don't just accept it for what it is, but to actually critique and to challenge and to ask questions about why different things are the way that they are.
Drives me insane.
Expound.
Kid Cudi wearing a dress, like suddenly, and there is actually an old interview that I believe Dave Chappelle gave to Oprah where he talks about that in Hollywood, there's always this like pressure for them to try to get Black men to wear dresses, and he like said no to this, and people kept trying to get him to wear a dress. They're like, wouldn't it be so funny in one of your
Cat
skits
Williams talked about
if you wore it? And he was like, no, what is this? Like, why are you trying to get me to wear a dress? That is weird to me. It's super toxic, and for some reason, when I see that, like the hyper feminization of Black men, it does something to me spiritually. Like it makes me want to snap.
Yeah, same.
Well, I guess I'm not saying you're wrong, but you know, there's plenty of people that be like, well, why are you not with a Black man then, Candace?
What's that? That's something to do with anything. I'm of a Black man. Like my granddaddy, my dad, I'm of a Black man. It's not gonna like, why do you feel impacted by it? Because I am seeing that intentional attack on Black men, and they're trying to condition Black men to aspire to that. When you put that on a red carpet and like, oh, look, fame and men wear dresses. What is that? Stop selling that to the Black community. I don't like that at all.
You seem to be excited that Black America is embracing you, as you said. I saw you say that. Why is that?
I'm just glad that they're hearing me for the first time. Forget embracing. I just wanted them to actually hear me. There was just so much, so many things said about me that just were not true. And no matter what, every time an article was written, they would just rehash the things that I never said. I mean, even the Joe Budden interview that was recently dropped and everyone's talking about it, go read Hot New Hip Hop's article on it. It's wild. It's just not what was said at all in that interview. It's just patching together things to make me seem like I'm a monster. Like Candace blames the education system for like Ice Spice's music. That's literally what they said. They ran with that. And so I'm just excited that they're at least hearing me. That's the biggest thing. Actually being able to decide, okay, I heard Candace and here's what I think about her. Rather than I heard what somebody else heard and what they say that I should have heard, and here's what I think about her.
Yeah, because most of the hate is like domino. Like you'll see, like over the years, I've seen like people in comments, it'll be headlines about you and somebody don't like you because somebody else don't like you, and then because of what somebody else said, and then, oh, she ain't never for us, or it's always what somebody else is waiting to, like in the comments, Charlemagne always say, people wait in the comments, go in the comments to
See how they
like
want to
see
feel.
how people want to
Sheep
feel.
behavior,
You go
yeah.
through comments first so they can tell you how to feel.
Right.
You never did research on her. You've never sat and talked to her. Obviously, you don't watch her show. You
Right.
just grab what the headlines grab and you read the comments and they tell you not to like her.
Right. And
I think put in a little bit more articulate way is that a lot of people just want to be told how to feel about different things. They want to be told how to feel about pundits, about different people, about commentators. Candace gained a lot of notoriety in the black community just based off of hate. Hate drove her growth within the black community. So it's interesting to see this sort of heel turn, but it's not really a heel turn because she's maintained a lot of these same points, but now she is entering these podcasts and entering these spaces so that you can hear her main points in their full totality. But just as Candace is saying, people can take those points, just as she did with the Joe Budden's interview, and splice it whatever way that they want to misconstrue her message. But just as much as there's audience members that want to feed into the biases, you also have content creators or just commentators in general that want to come across these conversations in good faith. In an effort to truly understand the value of their comments, the same thing happened to Kevin Samuels. Most of the people that hated Kevin Samuels was based off of a biased rendition of the comments that he said without watching a full live stream, without watching a full video. And the fact of the matter is, I get it. It's the age of information. When you have so much information coming at you, you just want to look at headlines of videos in the comment section in order to understand the points as fast as what you possibly can. But if you do that, it may come at the price of full understanding.
a part of that, by the way, has a lot to do with illiteracy, which is something that I talk about all the time, because the illiteracy rate in inner cities right now is over 70%. We're talking about over 70% of black boys that can't pass a basic reading exam. That is crazy. That is crazy. Across the United States entirely, 40%. We're at 40%. Yeah. So people think that they're going to public schools to get an education. It's the exact opposite. They are slowly making sure that you're never going to be able to have a proper education, and they're going to tell you what to think. That's what they want. They want the ability of a headline. And that's very scary. You know, I talk about what they did on slave plantations, you know, why we weren't allowed to learn how to read, because they knew that if they could control the narrative, then you could be enslaved forever, right?
Yeah.
Your mind becomes enslaved when you can't read, when you say, okay, I learned that in a textbook, but let me read this, you know, and actually see what I think. And I think that's intentional. I literally believe that there is an evil intent to re-enslave Black Americans. And the ability for us not to read, to me, is everybody should be hitting the alarm on that. Like, why aren't Black boys learning how to read and yet being encouraged to make music, to follow hip hop, to do this, to do that, you know, follow sports? You know, our culture is very much like go into music or go into sports. We need Black scholars. We need Black people that are actually aware of what has actually happened to Black America, what the true story is outside of what these textbooks are trying to sell.
I agree.
It's very scary to me, the illiteracy rate in Black America.
No, I agree with that, because a lot of times when, you know, Black people see other Black people that are successful, they're in music and athletics, so that's what people gravitate towards.
Right, which guarantees them. That's why they turn these people into such idols. It guarantees more Black failure, right? Because here's the truth.
The percentage
What
of
is the
success.
actual percentage chance that you have of becoming the next LeBron James?
You know, I used to say this decade and a half ago when I created an organization on my college campus. This is my graduate degree, called the Minority Male Leadership Association. And I would say to myself is that I really thought that I can change the perception of many young men that look like me, or many boys that look like me, if I was able to give them a dream of something with a higher degree or rate of success. The amount of people that go to the NBA is like 0.00001%. Getting picked up from the NBA from your high school team is about the same rate and odds as getting hit by a lightning strike. But gaining talents for an occupation which can grant you 6 figures or more per year is far, significantly easier to do. But there's a lot that are just not exposed to what these potential options are. So the purpose is wrapped up in being in sports or an entertainer. Meanwhile, their lotto ticket could have been a STEM degree, and that's where they should have put the majority of their focus.
0%. Let me just tell you, 0% that you're going to be the next. But every Black kid, because of the way he's hailed as a hero, and they put this, is going to try to be the next LeBron James. They're going to think that they have it, right? So they're going to put their academics second and prioritize, you know, my baby's going to be the next LeBron. Okay, but he probably isn't going to be. What is your chance as a Black American of becoming a doctor if you stay in school and pass all the tests? 100%.
We need Black doctors too.
What is
Jesus.
what is Candace Owens' definition of Black excellence?
That's a very good question. You know, I think
It's a good question.
Black excellence would just be excellence, period. Because I always try to say the reason why we should remove ourselves from saying white excellence, Black excellence, is because I've realized that there's been a
Separates.
power in people trying to segregate our minds in that way.
Yes.
You know, excellence to me, I think, is independence. I think it starts with independence of thought, right? Actually challenging yourself
I can get with that.
and challenging your beliefs and constantly re-examining them, not thinking that you have it figured out.
Happiness
but
in your
I think
purpose.
that once we achieve
Community,
higher
family.
education levels, and I'm talking
Yes.
about Black people in mathematics, Black literacy rate
English.
jumping to what it should be, which should be 100%. If we're being honest, if you're sending somebody through the public education system,
Yep.
then we will start to see necessarily Black people achieving more in our society. So I just personally think that we should be focusing on the Black literacy rates, full stop, and also creating our own companies. You know what I mean? And not having our voices controlled.
I used to have these ongoing fights with my barbers when he would ask me questions like, what do you think is the biggest issue plaguing the Black community? I really think that the number one issue is education. I think second to that would be low income poverty, maybe even poverty mindset. But I think that the number one would be education, because if you were fixing education or the ability for free thought, independent thinking, the ability to use the information around you to do damage with, right? But you can't use the information if you can't interpret the words that are coming at you. If you can't read the words that are coming at you in order to uplift your mindset to another level. If you fix the education problem starting at math and English, oh my gosh, so many of the issues would fix themselves. And don't let me forget father in the household. That actually might be number one. But yeah, focusing on those three things, I think would start to solve some of these issues. Families have been destroyed, and there's a large lift that has to be undertaken in order to fix some of these issues. And it's amazing to see Candace Owens get on these platforms and really address some of these issues. And it's also amazing to see the comment sections on particularly liberal-facing radio podcasting platforms such as The Breakfast Club begin to embrace her. Questions, comments, concerns. Y'all already know what to do. Me, go to tourismreviews@gmail.com. Hopefully you guys enjoyed yourself. But if you did or didn't, leave me some comments down below. I want to have a fantastic conversation regarding this content. Until next time, YouTube. Peace.